Buy or rent or buy? So that's the $1 million question, right? Some people say, I want to rent, and others prefer to buy. Some have always rented their whole life, so why would they buy now? Some have always owned, so they don't want to rent. That's what this next part is all about. So, the advantages of renting first. This is the most important one. You can move to other areas whenever you like to. You rent, you hate it because it's too hot, it's too cold, there's too much wind, you don't like the area, it's too rural, it's too urban. There's a ton of things, it's too warm. You want to be closer to the beach. I want a better view. There are Costa Rica is a ring of mountains with the Central Valley in the middle. There's mountains that are steeper and others that have a low, like an easier going slope. The easier going slope, often you cannot find the views that you can get on a steep slope. And that can make a big difference on what area you want to be. Okay, a lot of people say, hey, I'm moving to Costa Rica, might as well go for a good view, an ocean view, mountain view, whatever view it is. Zero risk of buying the wrong property. I run a whole network of realtors. I started in 95. I started in what you would call an MLS. I call it a mini MLS. We didn't have an MLS in those days. We did have a board of realtors, but it was no good for nothing. I turned it in like 25 years ago, my license. Licensing is not mandatory here, okay? So anybody can be a realtor. I train my own people because I've learned over the years that, we need to do things the American way and be careful with your money. And most local realtors don't have a clue about that because they sell to locals. Today and tomorrow we'll go a little bit into that issue. But we got a lot of people, because of all the realtors that we have 29 agencies all over the country. And we got people that send me an email, I want to sell my property. And where are you? In Limonal, Guanacaste. I didn't even know where the heck it was. So I had to Google it, and Google didn't know either. So it turned out like 50 people, that lived in Limonal. So I said, is that a lemon farm? No. So why the name Limonal? Oh, we don't know. But we bought this land, we bought 5.5 acres because we liked the quiet of it. And we're still close to town. Okay, that town is Limonal, and they have a pulperia, which is a mom and pop store. And then the grocery store that's closed, it was like 45-minute drive. And don't even ask about a hospital or anything. So they built a house there, and they were desperate to sell it because they were fed up with Costa Rica. I said, okay, when did you build the house? 5 years ago. So they said, we've tried. Yeah, of course, you're living in the middle of nowhere. And I said, how much do you want for the house? $750,000. I said, okay, can you send me some pictures? Because that's a long drive and I don't have an agent in the area. I don't want to send an agent either, just to drive 2 hours to get to a place that's in the middle of nowhere. So the house looked great, beautiful house, one single-story house with a pool. I said, but look, in Atenas, which has everything you want, it's only 45 minutes to the beach, you have that same house for $460,000. So why would your house sell for what you're asking for? I said, we cannot help you. You're stuck. I said, no, but I'm desperate and we want to get back home. I said, then forget about the money you invested, close the door, leave, and sell it for whatever you get and go on with your life. Long story short, it took him 12 years to sell the place, and it sold for $350,000. That's sad. That's sad. But the first thing they should have known is you want to buy in an area where there are realtors. And not because we love realtors so much. No, there's a reason for them to be there. Because people buy and sell where they are located. I don't know one realtor who buys and sells in the middle of nowhere. He wouldn't make a living or she wouldn't make a living. So start there. If you really like the quiet and you really want to be for an adventure, try it first. Build a guest house. Build a one story, one bedroom or two bedroom guest house that costs you a little bit of money. That's easier to sell or walk away from than a $750,000 property. Okay? So that's what I mean about zero risk of buying the wrong property. Move back home when you've had enough. Sorry. All these people that are now stuck in Costa Rica because their house doesn't sell, it's sad. I see a lot of sad people, and that's what this seminar is all about. You might hear some negativity here and there, because it sounds kind of negative, all of this, but it's just a warning so you can do the right thing, so you understand that not everything is beautiful. All right, next one, Carlos, please. The disadvantage of renting first. You're depending on the landlord for repairs unless you pay for it, even though the contract says the contrary. It depends a lot on your landlord. Contracts always say that you will have to pay for anything you break. You break a window, you got to pay for it. But if the faucet goes bad on you, the landlord has to do it. Now, guess what? There's a lot of landlords who will not fix it. So now what you do is just fix it yourself and deduct it from the rent, and that's the end of that, okay? Always look for the simple way. The advantage of using realtors for rentals is that usually the realtors, since they do rentals, some realtors do. I don't do rentals, but I have rental agents. And so do my affiliates have rental agents. Usually the landlords are careful with the agents because the agents will not keep renting for them if they don't fix anything. An agent doesn't want to get involved in all that hassle to get a faucet or a leaking toilet fixed. So usually they fix things, or if not, the agent will tell you what to do, okay? Suing somebody in Costa Rica is not going to work for you. You're going to be hiring a lawyer at $4,000 and you might be renting for $500. It doesn't make any sense. Then it's easier to walk away from it while you can. And there's also another part here that you need to check the house before you sign the agreement. Check it well, because there might be a lot of hidden stuff. Try out all the four faucets, pull the toilets, switch on all the lights and all of that kind of stuff. Some landlords are bad news. I can show you some real bad ones. And I've had stories from tenants and realtors, and realtors are connected on WhatsApp nowadays. So they warn each other about landlords, and then all the realtors will walk away from a landlord. That's generally what happens. But a lot of these landlords, they don't fix anything. They just walk away from you, taking your security deposit. And that's not nice. Also, your rent money is out the window. If you've always rented, who cares? You've lived for it. But if you're buying and it's paid for, if you need to take a mortgage, might be something different. You cannot get a mortgage as a non-resident in Costa Rica. You will not need to get a mortgage from whatever you have, or use your 401k or IRA or something like that. And our mortgage rates are now 8.5% in dollars. Twice as much almost as it is in the US. By the way, are you all US or any Canadians? All US? Yes. Okay. So yeah, we are at 8.5%, 9%. That's expensive. Okay, so when you move here, you either rent or you buy cash, and if not, you're in trouble. Next one. Okay, buying means you have a commitment to adapt fast. When you burn your ships, when you move here, you keep your home back home, and you say, oh, I can always go back home. It doesn't work as well. You're not so much committed as you've sold, you've moved, you bring your stuff with you, and then in 10 years you might say, oh, I've seen Costa Rica now, I want to go back home because of the grandkids, because that happens a lot. And everybody good to go, okay? But if you're renting, you don't have that commitment. I see a lot of people who rent after 2 years, they're gone again. Okay? Often for other reasons. You know, they say on Facebook, they say, oh, 90% of the people who move to Costa Rica move back again within the first 2 years. Where the hell did that come from? People invent stuff. There's no statistics on that. It's impossible. Even the Costa Rican government doesn't know who's a tourist and who moved here and goes across the border every 6 months. They don't even know. They say they had, I don't know, 5 million tourists last year. Probably half of that were expats who were going across the border 4 times a year. And they don't even know, okay? Because they don't check who's coming back in right away. And that's the same thing with you know, moving back because they didn't like it here. I have rarely, we have clients who don't stay for at least 5 years. And when they move back afterwards, 90% of them, no, 70% of them is because of the grandkids, and the other is because of health reasons, because they have better health attention in the US. You have more freedom on what to do in your property. It's your own property. You can grow weed, for example. Okay, you're allowed to grow weed as long as you don't sell it, you know, and it's for your own use. My neighbor does. And the smell is not very nice until my neighbor thought he could, his son was putting in an express, and I called the police and they cleaned it out. But they had the whole house full of hydroponic weed, and I don't know how the parents, I'm sure the parents smoke also because no parent would put up with it. But that you could do in your own property, you couldn't do it on a rental. Real estate investment over 150K allows for legal residency. That's important to know because you might say, hey, this is a good start. Get my feet wet for 150,000. If I don't like it, I can do Airbnb, I can do rentals, it can stay as an investment property. You will make at least 5.5% ROI on a $150,000 condo. In the Central Valley, it's probably going to be a little higher in the beach areas, depending on the HOA fees, because HOA fees are much higher in the beach areas usually than they are in the Central Valley. If you do, for example, if you have an 401k, you got any pension fund that you can roll over, you could use that. Use it yourself. Nobody's going to figure out in the U.S. what you did with your 150,000. As long as you pay rent to your own 401k or IRA, because your IRA needs to see the money coming in. That's what an investment fund, a retirement investment fund is for. And if you don't like it, you sell it again and you move back. If you like it, you rent it out and you buy something for yourself that's your size. There's a ton of options to figure out if Costa Rica is for you or not, okay? Romulo Pacheco will speak. He's the last one today, I think, and he will tell you all about your options for residency. Next one, Carlos. Okay, thanks. I was just going to ask. Good. You might be in the wrong location. I just told you about that couple. And they're still doing this, I guess. And that must have been 10 years ago that they sold that property, and they're still doing this. And that could have been happy, you know, and often it hurts, of course. You worked your whole life to make that money, and the older we get, we don't have the chance to remake that money again. But often, don't let your life go to hell by walking away from money, because I see too many people who sit on it and sit on it and sit on it and forever, and it becomes hell, you know, and it's not worth it. Selling again take a lot. Oh, by the way, you guys remember with the bubble burst in '08, I had a lot of people who moved back in with their kids instead of the other way around, okay, because they were here and they needed to help their kids. So they sold their property here because the bubble didn't burst in those days here. We still had a good market. So they sold here, went back, they paid the mortgage for the kids, and moved in with the kids. And that's part of that whole thing that could happen anytime. You know, COVID hit us big time here. I suffered. COVID cost me a lot of my retirement money, you know, so hey, it is what it is. Selling, again, can take a long time. We don't really have an MLS. I started that mini MLS. There's two MLSs, one in Guanacaste, one in San Jose. They're not functional. We don't have an MLS like you have, like you sign an exclusive with one realtor and everybody else will work through that realtor. It's a totally uneducated market. I wrote an article for the Tico Times, I don't know, 15 years ago, that said, why hasn't my house in Costa Rica sold in 7 years? And it's the most read article in the real estate section of the Tico Times in history. 7 years is crazy, but believe me, it can take that long. If you buy at the right price and you buy at the right place, you'd be okay. But it won't sell like it does in the U.S. I see people, you know, getting bids, and I have, I don't know, hundreds of clients who were realtors in the U.S. And I know a lot of realtors in the U.S. I would not be standing here if our market would be the way it is in the U.S. I'm still working for the fun of it. I enjoy it, but I could also use the income. And I've worked real estate hard for 35 years here. Okay, I'm not a millionaire. I made a good living, yes. But in the US, you can put your house on the market, depending on where it is and when it is, but you could sell it in 3 days. That in Costa Rica is impossible. Okay? Usually when people ask me, how long does it take me to sell my house? Anywhere between 3 and 6 months, depending on the price and the location. So buying is easy, but selling is not so easy. All right? Next one, Carlos, please. Okay, we have only a minute or so left, but we can get started here. So, moving here, 38 renting smart steps. Again, I hit a lot on this. Why do I do this? Because I'd love my people to sell you a house, yes. But if you're going to be unhappy, and 2 years later, you're going to be selling, and you're going to be in a hurry to sell to get back home again, that's no fun for a realtor. Oh, you haven't shown my house today, and you get a call like that, and I get 300 calls a day like that? No, not really, because I enjoy what I do. And for us, it's important that you're happy, and you do the right thing starting to rent. But even renting can bring some problems with it. Not so easy. Do not start looking at property too early. Realtors can spend days have you look at properties, and you come back and then you say, okay, thank you very much, and you come back 5 years later. Realtors want to know if you got the money in hand, because they don't have the time and they can't spend days driving you around so you can figure out where you can live in 5 years. So that's one of the things why I'm telling you this. Find out first what the area is. And then you can ask the realtor or ask me to get you the realtor to give you a couple of showings just to get to see the area. But that's why you do Chris's tour also. You get going with Chris, and you're going to see some of the stuff in the next couple of days, and it gives you an idea. Online nowadays, there's so many things, there's so many listings that have good pictures, you can at least form yourself a good idea. Okay? Yes, okay. I'll see you guys later, and you're going to see a lot of me in the next couple of days. Okay? Thank you.